With all of the rumors around recently, I was expecting the next batch of major Pikmin news that we received to be tied to a Nintendo Direct, which would give us our last significant look at the game before release. I was very wrong. Through Discord, I was made aware of some box art for what appears to be a digital card containing a code for Pikmin 4, and I'll put the image I was sent on screen now. The inside of the sleeve has a handful of new screenshots from the game, some with massive implications including our first look at our 2-player battle mode, a well-lit trek inside of the house, and a lot more. My name is Vantage Emblem, and today we're going to get as much out of this image as we can, with many of the points pointed out to me by the staff of Pikipedia, the overall best and by far most reliable Pikmin wiki. They brought this image to my attention, and oh boy, is there a lot to cover. Without further ado, let's get into this. Before we start, I want to give a disclaimer. I cannot read Japanese, so the text is not of use to me at the moment. Even so, there's a lot we can break down here. We'll move from top to bottom to keep things organized. First, the lineup of Pikmin at the top of the sleeve shows all 7 of our returning types, with a new render of Ice Pikmin splitting them off separately as they're new beneath them. This is to be expected, and it seems like just more evidence that all types will be returning. I think it is, unfortunately, very unlikely, based on this, that we're going to get an additional Pikmin type beyond Ice Pikmin. If nothing else, should this new type exist, they're probably not making it into the marketing for the game, and are a secret, kind of like Bulbmin were. In addition, we haven't seen Bulbmin yet either. No, those leaks were fake, I watched them get made. Though I assume if they are coming back, they're not making it into the marketing, because that's just kind of how Bulbmin roll. Behind these Pikmin renders, and an Ochi render we've seen before, we see an elevated look at the area with the playground in it from the trailers. We've not yet got a particularly good look at this area, and though there's a lot more that can be seen here, it isn't enough to make any sort of definitive judgments yet. That said, it is our widest shot of the area we've had so far. Now, let's take a look at the screenshots poised just below these renders and to the right of the Ice Pikmin section. At first glance, it could be assumed that they are all screenshots showing off the Ice Pikmin in action, but beyond the first, this is certainly not the case. The first screenshot seems to be taken from the first batch of footage that went into the game's first gameplay trailer, and it depicts Ice Pikmin freezing a Bulborb. Nothing new. The second screenshot surfaced on its own in other promotional materials a little more recently, showing Blue Pikmin carrying a castaway in a marshy area. Perhaps I missed it before, but there's a blue candy pop bud in this area, and looking back at this mound here from an earlier trailer that we assumed might be a dormant yellow onion or candy pop bud, I can't help but compare and contrast the two. You can let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Finally, we make it to the third screenshot for the row, and that's where things start to get wild. We see a screenshot of our creatable character riding Ochi inside of what seems to be a living room of the house from the trailer. There are 3 major things here to note. 1. The lighting is bright and welcoming, in heavy contrast to the caves in Pikmin 2. Is this area technically a cave? Is it an extension of the major area, or perhaps a major area on its own? Does it serve as a hub between areas? I have frankly more questions than answers about this. Number 2. Ochi seems out of scale here. Although it seems that Ochi can grow to different sizes based on him being smaller than our leader in some shots and bigger in other shots, he's way closer to the size of a real-world small cat or dog here than we've ever seen him before, possibly able to go up the steps of the house or onto the nearby couch. This house area once again signifies this game as a shift in direction for the series, and I'm very curious what it looks like from the aerial view of a classic Pikmin camera. Number 3, the most important detail from the shot. Here's our first in-game look at rock Pikmin. We can't see them in action, but they do seem to be on the back of Ochi, and frankly, the flower color and body shape is unmistakable. This is likely from the game's campaign too, since we've seen the house from the outside, and thus it only adds credence that all Pikmin types return, especially since their renders are lined up together on the top of the sleeve. Moving down to the next line of screenshots, the news gets a little bit less extreme, but it certainly doesn't stop. First, we see some treasures, including a small beach ball, and most infamously a fidget spinner. If you thought Pikmin would be free from fidget toys, think again. Frankly, I think it's a perfect idea for a treasure, but you tell me. All of the treasures we've seen for this game seem to lack brand names. Frankly, as much as I miss the real-world product placement, this will probably make the game much easier to port in the future since there won't be as many licensing things to worry about as with Pikmin 2, and it prevents any exterior company scandals from affecting Pikmin 4, which is probably for the best. Let's move on to the second screenshot in this line, which is perhaps the biggest screenshot of all. This is our first look at 2-player battle. We can't see much, but oh boy, there's still a lot. First, Player 1 plays our custom captain with a blue beacon this time despite their red suit, and has by their side Ochi and a team of red Pikmin with blue leaves. Standard stuff, taken from Pikmin 3's bingo battle, nothing crazy. Player 2, on the other hand, has their own Ochi-like dog with stalk-like ears and a green and blue coloration, a team of red Pikmin with red leaves, and they're led by Captain Olimar? This is our first time seeing him as playable in this game, and it's a good feeling to have. I can't tell if Olimar's model is the same as Pikmin 3 or not, but either way, it's just good to see him back. Let's talk about Olimar's dog for a second. This dog seems to have a similar, though entirely new model from Ochi, rather than just being a color swap. Though there seems to be eyes down here and not at the end of these stalks, this could be a redesigned Bulbie, Olimar's dog from Pikmin 1. If nothing else, this whole dog thing seems to be a nod to Bulbie in the first place. I think it's potentially more likely than you might think. That said, I'm not too crazy about the dog's color scheme, though I would be lying if I said I didn't want to give him a big hug. He reminds me of a toy I've had since I was a kid, mixed with Sully from Monsters Inc., but I get ahead of myself here. Looking at the image as a whole, it looks like Olimar's dog may be much bigger than Ochi, meaning perhaps they can grow and shrink during short bursts of gameplay rather than over an entire campaign. Ochi, comparing it to the house shot from earlier, is roughly the size of a strawberry here. I don't know any strawberries that can climb up a couch or steps, so it looks like he definitely can shrink and grow, and I think Olimar's dog is much the same way. At the center of the map seems to be a large Pikmin 2 scaled bomb rock. The interesting thing about it? There are Pikmin tasks around it, which seem to come from both parties given a mix of red and blue leaves, but they aren't trying to carry the bomb rock. Instead, they're trying to carry the base. Maybe it's like a payload of some kind that the players fight over? Finally, this map itself seems to be an indoor playroom, much like the similar maps hosted in the versus modes of Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 3. The only other thing of note, besides the carpety floor textures, is that these blue crystals from the trailer might be what we're seeing here in the bottom left corner, though it could just as easily be bridge pieces. Now, let's move on to our final screenshot, which is a frame of the Disco Longlegs, as we've been calling it. It's emitting red with all of the Pikmin beneath covered in that stuff we'd seen before. Though previously I'd believed that it might be ultra spicy spray following some very convincing videos from the community, this shot makes me believe that it might not be the case, and instead, this might be the power of a boss. Behind it, we can see a large window, but other than that, not much else can be said about this frame. Still, I'm very excited to get some new and interesting bosses. All that's left now is to break down some game information left on the box. That being said, this section surprisingly had some of the most interesting information here, so let's get into it. First, on the right, it seems to depict how co-op will work. Each player has an individual Joy-Con, player 1 walking, and player 2 controlling the game's aiming. This seems fine, though I'm worried if player 2 controls the camera for player 1 as well as using their stick and points to aim or something like that. That sounds like it could be a bit of a nausea-inducing system. I'm sure there's a really good explanation for this, and that it feels really good in game, but it seems like more evidence that the main game is going to be single captain overall, and that Pikmin 3 Deluxe is going to remain the co-op king in the series. The game is listed as 11 gigabytes, which is roughly consistent with what we've seen, and allows for 1 to 2 players approximately with TV and kickstand play, though only 1 in handheld. There is some sort of support for Nintendo Switch Online, though I've got no idea what it could be. Probably just leaderboards, but who knows. The game supports the Switch Pro controller and... Wait, what's this? Unreal Engine? Doesn't Nintendo usually develop their first-party titles in proprietary software? Why is this in Unreal? I'm not complaining, mind you, it's actually super exciting. This skyrockets the chance that there's another company at work here, a secondary or outsourced development studio, and that's great for Pikmin's longevity. As with Mercury Steam and Metroid, this could be an amazing way for Pikmin to keep going without having to take up too many resources at Nintendo, and it could explain the change in style that is present in Pikmin 4 compared to the previous 3 games. I've heard rumors that Vancouver-based studio Next Level Games was working on Pikmin 4, but that was before the game was actually revealed, and it very well could have just been a fake leak made out of nowhere, based on hope that Pikmin 4 is in development at all, you know? We don't know if this game was outsourced at all from Nintendo, and it very well could still be done in-house. This could mean a lot for Nintendo changing their overall development system and possibly even prepping for a new console. I could just be reading into this, but I do think it means a lot more than you would think at first glance, especially in terms of digging through the files after launch and understanding many of the leftover secrets of Pikmin 4's development. And with that, we've now reached the end of our news and are only left with this card facing back upon us, a card that features all of the Pikmin we've seen so far on it, even if the winged Pikmin are very small. Frankly, this news makes me super optimistic. We finally got a new 2-player battle mode confirmed, and I'm so curious about Bomb Rocks. I think there's more reason than ever to believe that all the types will be back in the story, and so much more. But what do you think? Do you like what's been shown off? I'll be honest, the living room shot is very different, but I'm cautiously optimistic. What do you think about how the game is shaping up? Do you think that's Bulbie in the 2-player battle shot? How do you feel about the Pikmin roster? Let me know in the comments below. That said, I'll stop rambling and end things here. My name is Vantage Emblem, thank you so much for watching. Pikmin 4 is only a month and a day away, and I hope you're all just as excited as I am to play it soon. Cheers. Oh yeah, apparently there's also a Direct tomorrow featuring Pikmin 4. Wow. A lot of news. Special thanks to my Patreons, Tentacles, Von Briner, Avis, and Gary the Gamer. You guys make this possible. Thank you so much.